Hi, everyone. It is Nia Claire with the light up. We have a wonderful, exciting month ahead of preparing for the November 20th light up. Yes, we added another date. I'm very excited to share that with you because we've had such a good momentum that I already knew we were going to take December off, but I thought, boy, November, December, that's just too long before we get into the new year. So we're doing one more, and this is going to be a spectacular gathering. And I am very excited to kick off these interviews by talking with Claire Marie, who's going to be one of our practitioners at the event. Claire and I had, and welcome, Claire. I'm glad you're here talking with me today. I'm so
Hi,
excited.
Mia Claire. This is wonderful.
No,
Thank
we're
you for
going to
having me.
clear it up, you guys. We're clearing it all up. I love it. So what I was going to say is we have so Claire and I met, I want to say it was like 2021, March 2021. It was the Your Savant Online Health and Wellness Expo that was
hmm
done here. And you were one of the presenters, and I was one of the presenters, and we had never met. And all I
hmm
knew is I saw you, I listened to you, you had the cool hair, and I'm like, who is this woman? Where did she come from? And
I
so
still do. It's purple today. Can you see the
see,
purple?
I can. And I try to do it and it fades so quickly, those bright colors, but
It does, but
yeah,
I'm all about it. I'm
yeah,
about stacking it in there.
I
Put the
love it.
color in. Put the
She's
color in.
super sassy. So, I want everybody, one of the reasons I do these interviews is because so much of the time, we don't really get to know the people that we're going to see. So that's one of the reasons people go to expos. It's one of the reasons people go to different events around the city is to get to meet new people, to get to see them. And this is my way of saying, hey, you definitely want to come and connect with Claire Marie and her energy and everything that she's doing. So I would love for everybody to get to know you a little bit, including me. I want to get to know you even more. So, would you mind telling us who you are, what you do? Where are you in the metro, in the Twin Cities
Okay.
metro? What are you doing?
Well, so my office is, let me first say
Yeah.
that I have my whole life been pulled to the St. Croix River Valley area. I grew up a little bit north of town. I tried to move away. In my head, I'm this beautiful gypsy nomad. And it turns out I have this pull to the St. Croix River.
Yeah.
And it is deep and it is tangible. So I live in Hudson, and my office is literally right across the river in Lakeland in Minnesota.
Oh, good.
So it is, I live by the river, my work, my office. I have a lot of river energy that I can feel in my office, and that's very important to me to be able to have that feeling and to be able to get that work done. And I love being where I'm at. It is right off of Highway 94, so it's accessible to people even in the Twin Cities. So
Great.
come see me, even if you're in the Twin
Yeah.
Cities. And I do have quite a few students from all the way from Baldwin and Monometai, from Minneapolis to St. Paul to Maple Grove. Some people travel to see me. So
That's
um,
great.
it's not too far away, sometimes it can be a little bit of a trek.
Yeah.
But I do a lot of things in the cities. Just last weekend, I did the Mind Body Spirit Expo, which was
Yeah.
taken over from the Edge Life Expo,
Yeah.
and had a great show. It was a lot of fun. I met
I
so many
heard good
beautiful
things.
people.
I heard it was
It
just
was
wonderful.
it was so good, and it was so beautiful. I just am very grateful. I'm an extrovert, so doing those kinds of things are really kind of up my alley.
Totally.
I love meeting people. I'm not good with names, but okay. So what is the work that I'm doing? And
Yeah.
I have wanted to be live a spiritual life for as long as I can remember, and it has been kind of an up and down journey to find out what that means, because I wanted to be, when I was in my youth and attending church and in the church choir and in the youth group. I thought this is it. I want to be a nun or a monk or a something. And then
Uh-huh.
I lost my faith. Well, I lost my faith in religion.
Yeah.
And had to find some other way that was deeply connected to me in that space. Meanwhile, I've got gifts that I'm learning about that are not something talked about in my family, that I am understanding and that I'm practicing and I'm trying to learn about. And my teachers have been the most impressive thing ever, and I want to continue that. So CMK Energy, and it's taken me a long time to be able to articulate exactly what it is that I do and what puts me apart from everybody. And recently, taking a class, the Magdalene, it really came in for me that my job at CMK Energy is to help my clients completely self-actualize.
Mm.
It is my job to help individually people learn how to find their intuition, how to listen to themselves, how to have self-awareness, love, and respect,
Yeah.
and be able to find that divine space inside.
Right. Love that.
And I will do what it takes to help that happen. When we're healing from something, so I do energy therapy, I do intuitive readings for people who need a little bit of outside guidance, in a different perspective to help them unlock whatever that is, whether it's the confidence to take the next step, clarification.
Mhm.
Everything that I do is to help my clients move to a space of thriving in their life, not just surviving and trying to make it through, right?
Yeah.
How do we build space for that ecstatic experience that is life
Mhm.
and what that means to consciousness and our purpose? So that's what I'm about. That's what my help is. That's what I want to do, is help in no matter what that looks like. I have a lot of, because of my experience of trying to educate myself and
Yeah.
learn about all kinds of different things, I have insights into a bunch of different religions, a bunch of different modalities, a bunch of different um, of techniques to help what fits for you, right? If this doesn't fit, let's try this. If this doesn't fit, let's try this. If psychometry isn't your thing, let's try automatic writing. What is automatic writing, you say? Hey, let me tell you about it, right?
Right.
Or I'll find somebody who will, and we'll bring that to you so that you can explore these different things for yourself and really get people to understand the more you put into it, the more you get out of it.
Yeah. That's really beautiful.
And that the entire universe will conspire to help you along the way. And
Yeah.
I believe that with everything that I am. And I read that through The Alchemist with
Yeah.
Paulo Coelho, and I was like, okay, this is my new story. This is my new kind of my gospel, for lack of a better word, to be like, you want to find someone who's really led a journey and told a story about it. It's Paulo Coelho, because everything about those omens and finding your treasure and believing in yourself and going for something that you want is what we're here for. So
Yeah.
that's my job. That's what I do, as I help people the best way that I can with an immense amount of love and positivity, because I'm a very positive person and I look for those higher frequencies, and I
Yeah.
find that those higher frequencies tend to be the ones that empower,
Mhm.
and so that's where my focus is. And that's where I like to live. So that's where I come from. So if you're looking for someone who's dark and dirty, you're not looking in the glitter filled face of someone who's dark and dirty. I'm
Right.
gonna, I'm gonna, I'm
Yeah.
gonna, I might be a little dirty, but I'm full of glitter and sparkles. So
Right.
that's kind of how I will approach it. But I swear like a sailor, and I will tell you the truth,
Mhm.
um, even in the hard places. But I also do it, I believe, in a way that is hopefully helpful,
Yeah.
because it's not about shame. It's about releasing shame and responsibility for our choices,
Mhm.
and that there is always choice. You
Oh,
may
I
not like
love
it.
that. I totally
but there's
agree.
always choice.
I think what you're talking about is so important. Uh, a couple of things, and I think that sometimes what I'm hearing you say, without you being really overt about it, is that you're owning
Hmm.
who you are and stepping forward and trusting, like literally, like when you just honor yourself, you are showing people how to honor themselves,
Absolutely.
and
And
that's powerful.
it's very powerful. And I am living representation that it works.
Yes.
And that's what I want for everybody in whatever capacity that means, whether I agree with it or not. That owning that space is powerful,
Yeah.
very powerful.
It is, but
And
it's not for the faint of heart either. That I think it's one of those things like it's when you're there, well, at each stage, and I already know because I hear your words, I can hear your energy, and this is that in each stage
mhm,
of development, there's a part where we land, we go, oh, this is better than I thought it was going to be, but I had to get through that willingness to shed something
mhm,
to be able to stand firmly in this place. And
mhm,
then that eventually is what you're going to shed. And then that is
mhm,
eventually what you're going to shed. And so it's that's one of the reasons I think we need teachers. We need people who are willing to share, willing to guide, willing to hold space with us and be honest in that
mhm,
way,
mhm.
um, even even when we're not always ready for it, even when we're not always ready
Absolutely.
for it.
Absolutely. I had this beautiful teacher that opened my eyes to me.
Mhm,
And it was what I think, God, I was probably early 20s.
mhm,
And I was looking and I was doing tarot and I was reading, all these different religions and trying different rituals and different practices to see what fit, what stuck, and right what was coming. And I knew that I could get information, but the tarot on its own wasn't really doing it for me. And she took me aside, and I tell her this to this day. I said,
yeah,
"You are the reason I am as owning my gifts is
yeah,
because of her."
yeah,
Because she looked at me and she said, "Claire Marie, stop trying to work with the tradition. How do you read the cards?"
yeah,
And I went, "What?" She said, "Let everything else go, let the spread go.
yeah,
How do you read the cards?"
yeah,
And I went, "Like me? Like, what do I have to say about it?" And I tried it. She encouraged me. I tried it. And ever since then,
yeah,
I was able to lock into what I was getting. But
yeah,
trying to get that to lock in on something that didn't fit wasn't working. So I thought there was something wrong with me.
it's
And
exactly.
and that's the biggest thing that I tell my students. I'm like, if this is don't worry about doing it right.
Yep,
Worry about, are you getting confirmation?
yep,
Right? That's the piece that's going to lead you to that next step and
exactly.
allow you to get deeper into your own knowing and awareness, because you're going to feel how that works. And
Hmm.
my readings are never the same for anybody, right? There's sometimes it's a one card, sometimes I don't use the cards, sometimes I have a whole mat laid out and it's like all these different things. It's never the same twice, and it's because everything is individual
Yeah,
and everybody is individual. So I'm going
that's
to
right.
get different things for different people, and I'm found that I'm okay with that because that's how I do things.
Hmm.
And and I tell people the same. Don't. I'm going to tell you my experience and potentially something to try, but
Yeah,
don't think it's the one way to do it.
right. Well, and
So
thank God, right? But at the same
absolutely,
time, it's so funny because there's this weird balance that I've been noticing. I'm curious to know what you think about this. We're going, like I said, we're going to go all over the place because I knew this was going
I
to
love
happen.
this. I love
Uh,
this.
but one of the things that I've noticed is that there are kind of there's more than that, but two really big camps when people are learning and developing is one is I don't have to know anything. I'm completely reliant on my own,
Mhm.
whatever I think that is. And then there's the other one where I am hanging on with a death grip
Mhm.
to whatever I'm being told, and that, like, I'm ignoring that inner wisdom.
Everything else.
And it's really funny because I've been in the way that I teach, or the way that I've noticed things, is like there's this, it's hard to describe the finesse that needs to be developed between the
Mhm.
two, right? Like, so
Absolutely.
as you're doing tarot cards, if they cease to be tarot cards, why are you using them?
Mhm.
Right? There's a reason it's a tool.
Mhm.
If you're doing Reiki, there's a reason it's Reiki, if you want to call it
Mhm.
Reiki, if you're going to do these things, or go the other way. But there's this interesting finesse, and it's sometimes hard to talk about, because when you're doing it, when you are tapped into your gifts,
Mhm.
which includes using your tools
Mhm.
and your knowing, and
Mhm.
trusting those moments of, like, divergence from the
Mhm.
path, right? That,
Absolutely.
like, you develop that trust. That's not something
Mhm.
that you just go boom, right?
Absolutely. And I have learned that for me, the more the more I learn about, the more what I'm getting makes sense. Does that make sense? So
100%.
absolutely, right? So I learned about geomancy and I learned about astrology and I learn about the I Ching and I learn about palmistry and I learn about all of these things. I learn about color theory. I learn about art. I learn about symbolism. I learn about energy work. I learn about the history of energy, where it came from. I learn different modalities because every time it's a different perspective that comes in, it hones my ability to trust what I'm getting that much more, right?
Yes, 100%.
And it doesn't matter if I'm all in on something. What matters is my interpretation.
Mhm.
And if I have more knowledge and experience, the more that interpretation is going to be um, fruit
Yeah.
versus a blossom,
Yeah.
right? And it's going to actually have some substance to it. And that took me a long time to figure out. Um, but what I tell my students is that most of us are not born Mozart, right? Most of us are not born Echo Bodine when we have this beautiful gift that's in this lineage and it's right there and it's been since birth.
Yeah.
Most of us, though we have it, have to practice.
Mhm.
And Mozart had to practice. Echo Bodine doesn't just sit there and she
Right.
works it. She
Right.
works it. And if you that's what it takes is working it and experience just like anything else.
Yeah.
It takes practice to really get into learning how it happens, right? It's the journey, not the destination
That's right.
for every single thing.
For every single, and
And
that brings us back to The Alchemist. Really, when you think of,
absolutely,
like, even when you get what you want, it's just a beginning of another journey that you're about
absolutely,
to undertake. And we get so focused on the destination or the expertise or what we envision that to be, only to get there and be undone by what we thought it was
right?
going to be. And so I think the fact that we're even talking about this is so delightfully timely for, I shouldn't do delightfully and timely, but you get my point. If we're
Yeah.
The timing on this conversation is really good, because I think, we're coming out of a lot of, the eclipse season. We're coming out of some retrogrades, going into some retrogrades. We've got full moon, which was joyful for so many of us,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then, but we're also at a place of having to look at what we've always done,
Mm-hmm.
or what we believe has been firm
Mm-hmm.
ground, realizing that it might not be what we thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then having that willingness to even let the things that we think are solid,
Mm-hmm.
ideas, platforms, language, culture, all of these things, to to fall apart and become what they're there to. So it's, you're practicing, what I'm hearing
100%.
is allowing you to be more nimble, more
Absolutely.
capable of navigating this.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's the navigation. Because sometimes when you get the when you're in it, and so I'm a clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
and claircognizant, which is something new, right?
Yeah.
That was a term that I hadn't. I was of the old school where I wrapped that into clairaudience. I
Yep.
love it that
Yep.
I was able to learn the something new because it much more accurately describes the
100%.
situation. But it took me a while to understand how to interpret what I was getting because it doesn't, for me, it doesn't come in. My guides don't speak to me necessarily like you and I are talking.
Right.
I do know some people that is. They have a hard time thinking and having this conversation with someone who really isn't there.
Yeah.
That isn't what for me I call it the in between.
Uh-huh.
And I try to talk to people like, don't ignore the in between. Don't ignore that space that is not your physical 3D eyes.
Right.
Go in that space in between and find out what it is. And the more that I practice, the more that I find out the color red isn't just this. If it's the color red with this and then this, and I've got this feeling that's underpinning, I have to interpret that differently for this person
Hmm.
than I do for um, for this other person. Because
Right.
over here it means anger, and over here it means passion, and over here it means stop,
Yep.
right?
Yep. 100%.
and and so the more that we allow ourselves to learn and engage and talk and connect with each other, the more we can open up to those things for ourselves and find, oh yeah, imagination is part of this deal,
Oh, yes.
right?
100%.
That's one of the biggest things that I hear from my students all the time. I think it's my imagination. I'm like, yes, it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your imagination is absolutely key to allowing you to understand what you cannot see.
That's right.
100%.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, Tesla had one hell of an imagination,
Right?
right?
True.
And was guided and influenced and came up with this beautiful new technology and way to interpret how this energy is moving. And that is not something to be underestimated
No.
because creativity does not come through just willing, it comes through imagination.
It
So
100. I'm loving everything you're saying, because I always say, we imagination is the most powerful tool we don't take responsibility for. It
100%.
it we use it wrongly to our detriment most of the
Mm-hmm.
time. So, and we
Well,
think
and
about
a
what
lot
that
of it
will
is
create for ourselves.
we've been taught that imagination is false, that it's
Oh,
fake,
yeah,
and or that it's something that isn't real.
yeah.
And
True, true.
that is to me a cultural calamity.
Yeah, yeah.
Because in those quiet moments, being present, you are in that space of creative thought. Well,
Mhm.
what is creative thought other than imagination?
Right. That's it. Well, we're always creating, right?
Always.
Every time, whether you're worrying
Mm-hmm.
or you're, fantasizing, you're doing the exact same action. It's just where the direction you're channeling it. And so
Yep.
it's learning how to, instead of letting it be something that is only used creatively for
Mm-hmm.
projects, that you realize that it is, you never turn it off. You're
Right.
always working with it, and then how to begin to utilize it as a tool. Just like
Right.
emotions in a lot of ways, because emotions are
Absolutely.
the same thing. Which follows which? Is it the imagination
Absolutely.
that follows emotion or emotion that follows imagination. It's
Absolutely.
we could probably I think we're just gonna have to,
Oh
teach a
gosh.
class.
Absolutely.
It's great.
This is my favorite stuff to talk about ever in the history of the world. I would talk about this stuff forever
Ditto.
because it fascinates me. It invigorates me. And when I like to see how, because I can see energy, right? So I
Mhm.
can see someone's field, how they're reacting. And when I'm able to engage with someone, I can see this popping of
Yeah.
all of this energy and how people expand when we start talking about this stuff. And then I watch as they walk away, and it kind of goes like this, and it starts to filter back to everyday life. And I'm like, why are you making those two different things?
Efforting is hard. And it's fun to go and be inspired. But then
Absolutely.
how do we make when it's one of the hardest things if everybody, were willing participant in doing the practices that have been proven over and over again, we'd all be probably a lot happier. But
Oh God.
we
Yes.
imagine the pain of the practice. We imagine the amount of work it's going to take to do that. And so we end up pulling back from it. And so I love that we're talking about this because I think more than ever before, we are having to practice our work and our
Hmm.
thinking and our energy and choosing it every day.
Absolutely.
Those of us that are actively engaged in supporting others and how, like, it's great to be talking about it, but how are you living it? How are you choosing to
Absolutely.
be in and of the world? And so I love that
Because there's
conversation.
right, and there's only so much that we can do.
There
I
is.
will partner with you. I will help in whatever way I can. I will help move energy, but you're the one that's going to have to do it.
Yeah.
So again, it's about the responsibility, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
one of the things that some people get mad at me about, but I'm going to say it anyway. One of the blessings of COVID, because
Oh,
I tell
yeah.
you, COVID put me back in therapy as an extrovert. It
Uh-huh.
was,
We should have found each other because I was very similar. Very
oh my
similar.
God. I thought I was like, oh,
Mhm.
I can't. What? It was awful. It was
Mhm.
awful. Um, it was awful. And, but for a lot of people, it slowed everybody down.
Yeah.
And in that slowing down, people went, wait a minute, you mean I don't have to be doing
Yeah.
17,000 things?
Yeah.
I can have this 5 minutes
Yeah.
to breathe? And it made people really aware of what they're missing in presentness.
Mhm.
And and I am guilty of this because I was born into a family where you get shit done.
Mhm.
You just, if you're slacking or if you're leaning or you're not cleaning, you're leaning or whatever.
Yep.
It was you don't be lazy, get the work done. You can always find something to do. I am never bored because of it, so it's honestly a gift. But a lot of my aha moments come when I slow down.
Oh, for sure. Yes.
And I have to remind myself of that. Every day I do mudra, Monday through Friday, I do mudras in 36 breaths. 36 breaths, meditation on being present and being with your breath and slowing down. And I do it live on Facebook. And even for me, there's sometimes where I'm like, even for me, I have to just breathe because I'm trying to push towards getting it finished to get to the thing that I have to do next.
Yeah.
And then I go, stop, let go of that,
Yeah.
and be present,
Mhm.
if nothing else, for these 36 breaths.
Right.
And it changed my life.
Mhm.
And as someone who knows what it's like to be busy, when you're busy, you're not present.
Right.
always.
Yeah.
You're 10 steps ahead or 6 steps behind or anxious or worried, and there's no space for that. And
That's
so it's a
true.
really a gift that people were able to take a breath and go, yeah, I'm not going to do that anymore.
Right. It's that's really true, and I think the slowing down piece, and being present is, again, it comes back to that practice. Like, how do I do it? Like the fact that you have a mudra practice, some people have,
Hmm.
done movement or exercise or
Absolutely.
but they're bringing a more mindful
Hmm.
way to do it. And part of it is with COVID, we did have this opportunity to slow down, which then triggered just a ton. I was going to start swearing. I'm not going to do that right now.
I don't
A
know.
ton
I'm
of
sorry.
anxiety.
I
No,
totally
no,
did
no.
on mine.
Hey, I'm a sailor too. I come from it. It's in my family. It's in my blood. But the just a ton of anxiety,
Hmm.
because when we don't know, the way we manage not knowing or uncertainty is we go to what we can control, and what we can
Hmm.
control is our busyness. And sometimes
Hmm.
it's not busyness of physical, it's
Hmm.
busyness of the mind. And so the fact that you're doing that every day sets a tone where you are choosing your day, you are choosing, even in that
Hmm.
moment, to be present. And those
Hmm.
are the practices that we're being invited to now. And part of the reason that I started the light up, being the raging extrovert that I am, as well as I was like,
Hmm.
I need to see people, and I
Absolutely.
need to do something where it's compelling enough that we can all find time to get together, that there's a reason to meet new people, that there's something, it's in a place that's unexpected, it's a different vibration. That was what prompted it. And the tagline, which I think you'll get, I don't know if I haven't promoted it much, but is navigating the now together. Because it's all about, how do we, like, we don't know what tomorrow is.
Absolutely.
And if
And
there's
you never
anything
do.
that's proven that, it's the last 2 years. Like, every time I go, oh, I
Absolutely.
get it, I get it, I get it. It's going to be that, nope, 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 that didn't work. Okay, that's not what I expected. Like, we have had more and more and more of all the indicators of what things are supposed to be, and realizing we we can't predict anymore in the way, even those of us who are incredibly intuitive, it's like, yeah, um hmm yeah,
Right.
I all I can do is give some insight into this.
Right. Because I could see the bigger picture. Like I
Mhm,
could see, like, I know what's coming.
mhm,
I can see
yeah,
what's coming, but it's a ways away.
mhm,
But I know that we're going to get there.
yeah,
But I don't know how.
mhm,
I just know it's going to happen.
mhm,
It's a bigger, like, I don't know what that means for me, but I definitely know. And there's so many people right now because they are in the present, which this is so interesting to be able to use the lack of articulation that the English language has, because there are people who are so stuck in what's happening right now
mhm,
that they just see the terror that is here.
mhm,
And what I see is the crumbling to what's, so that there's growth coming up from underneath it.
yeah,
And
absolutely,
when I disengage from this collective freak out, I can see even the grassroots underpinning of what's coming up.
yeah,
And some of my friends were like, seriously, even how can you say that? Everything's going to shit. And I'm like, but it's not. I
yeah,
know that it feels like it, but
yeah.
I can see where we're going. And honestly, I think it's beautiful
It is. I think it's both, and though. I think it's
because we have to get there
we
somehow.
well, and that means the now is really precarious, and people have, like,
Absolutely.
how do you hold both? And there's a challenge that we have, because you can hold the vision, but you
Hmm.
still have the now to contend with, and the breaking
Absolutely.
down is, really unsettling. And so
Absolutely.
here we are in this middle of the mess,
Yep.
and we can know it, and we can see it, and we can be it, and we can create space for the experience, to honor it and to be in there. And so I think it's like, if, like, I often say, I'm like, if any of us know the way, we're fooling ourselves,
Absolutely.
because the way is, we are creating it in the
As
moment, in
absolutely.
the moment. So even though we can hold the space and hold a shared vision for what is possible, even that is limited by our now experience. So
Hmm.
we're in this beautiful place of possibility, and I
Hmm.
love it. I mean, like, I'm holding space with you on this too, because I
Hmm.
also see, like, oh my goodness, unbelievable. And then also feeling that how many people in any given moment are rocked to their core.
Core, and I get it. And there's fear,
Oh
and
yeah.
there is fear.
Yeah.
I get it. And we are hardwired for it.
Yeah.
As a gay woman in the Trump era,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
not. This is an actual threat to my survival.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But I cannot sit in fear.
No.
I cannot do it. I won't do it.
Yeah.
Um, I and that's a choice.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I
And
think I think that that is the fact that you recognize that choice is really key.
mm,
And I think that fear is thrown around like a platitude, but fear is an experience and it's an idea. It's
mm-hmm,
two things. And I think the piece that I love is what we were talking about. Let's go back to imagination. Because I think
mm-hmm,
that what drives fear is not actually what's happening or what's real. It's what we imagine is coming. And so the
correct.
more that we can come back to the now and start to envision other possibilities, or start to see um, ourselves as strong, capable voices, centers of energy in who we are, the more that we can navigate that uncertainty. And
Absolutely.
again, it's like the fact that you and I are having this conversation, like, I get goosebumps,
Yeah.
because this is like, we are all getting pieces of it. And what is it? There's that whole old adage, where, you have all these blind, wise people, and they're all not blind, or they're blindfolded, and they're all touching parts of an elephant, trying to
Absolutely.
describe it. That's what we're doing, but we can't do that alone. We
Correct.
have to come together. We have to have these conversations. We have to start to crack this open and say, I don't know, and I'm uncomfortable. And how do we hold space? Well, I've got a tool. This seems to be working
Mm-hmm.
for me. Oh, good. Let me try that tool, and
Right.
let's play and dance in that, and new things emerge. And I
Absolutely.
think that's what is exciting me now. And
Mm-hmm.
gosh, I could talk to you for days. This is
Yeah.
I
I love
love
it.
it. And I love the fact that you're actively out teaching and doing this work, and the fact that you're going to be at the light up on the 20th. I'm excited about that. Thank you for saying yes. And we've got
Absolutely.
Carrie Lynn Elftman. Oh, I'm sorry. I think it's Carly Lynn Elftman. What a great name. And let me know if I said it wrong. I apologize. They're saying they struggle with the slowing down the mind. It's hard. It's
It's
hard.
hard. And because Carrie, we've been taught this for
Right.
your whole life,
Yeah.
that you need to be always thinking about something, which is true. But let me ask you this, Nia. Let me ask you this. When you started channeling,
Uh huh.
did you had to learn to be quiet because of the subtle difference between what your voice and what is coming to you? How
Yeah.
did you find that? You found that, I'm assuming, because you slowed it down, you listened, you noticed those subtle differences.
Yeah.
You were going, okay, this is not necessarily my voice, but is my voice. I am connected to something here. I can feel the power. I can feel the magic. I can't take this back. Can I prove it? No. But
Right.
I know it to my core,
Right.
that this is important
Yeah.
information.
Yeah.
And you did that by slowing down.
Yeah.
Because if you were constantly filling your head with everything else, you
Hmm.
wouldn't be able to hear that gnawing information that's
Yeah.
coming to you.
Yeah, it was like that that's a really good point because I think it was always like static in my head. And it wasn't so much it was more like so there are two ways I'll put it because they're both the same but they're subtle differences. Because I think some people when they say slowing down the mind, it's like you think you have to shut off the and it's different than that for me, and I'll explain it this way. It's more like what I put my attention on.
Mm-hmm.
So my mind never shuts up,
Mm-hmm.
rarely. But when I am needing to be quiet, like I am able to focus on something. And I started off by doing that through chanting. I started off by doing that doing different things that helped me. And now I
Mm-hmm.
can be in the quiet because for years, most of my life, I couldn't be in the quiet. It gave me anxiety to such a high degree. Like I was because there was that voice,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if I'm quiet, then I'm going to hear it and I don't know what that is. That's from a very young age. So the I don't know that my mind slowed down as much as I refocused my energy, if that makes sense. So the
Absolutely.
reason I'm saying that is because I think it's kind of like meditation. And I
Mm-hmm.
guarantee, when you're teaching meditation or teaching people to be quiet the mind, that if you can't quiet your mind, then you feel like you failed. You can't
Mm-hmm.
meditate. How many people say I can't meditate? But
Absolutely.
if you can let that go over
Mm-hmm.
here and you just refocus your energy and attention over here, this is still going, but you have a different channel. No pun intended.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. And so I teach I haven't for a while, but I used to teach a meditation class that didn't just teach, it taught all kinds of meditation, and we
Yep.
experienced all kinds of meditation to see up to shaking and trance dance, right?
Yeah.
As ways of just, and it's Zen meditation is not for everybody,
Nope.
right? And it's not necessarily your goal.
Right.
What the goal is to understand that again, you don't have to pay attention always
Right.
to everything that's coming through. Pay attention to the important stuff,
Exactly.
right? It's the idea of letting the clouds pass over.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not paying attention to this constant chatter because I want to hear my breath.
Yep.
I want to hear, I want to think about whether it's scary or not,
Mm-hmm.
what's going on here that can lead me to open to more possibilities.
Yes.
And we all have those ecstatic um, breakthrough experiences, right? We all have those amazing experiences that go, oh my God, that was amazing.
Yeah.
But the best part is when you can make that happen every day.
Totally agree.
And
Totally
in
agree. When it
and
gets
in
to be
right, it
normalized,
gets
it's
to
just
be
your
this.
way of living.
If I live in a very magical space
That's right.
because I allow myself to live in a very magical space.
Right.
And anyway, it's possible. It's possible to be in that always,
Yeah.
and to know when you unplug from it and how to plug back in.
Totally.
So, and I get what she's saying. It's hard because it is, there is introspection that has to happen, and sometimes that's a really hard place to be in.
Yeah.
But it is worth the work, darling. If you're hearing, it is worth the work to try to get to the point where you can listen.
Yeah.
Because, like you, when you start to listen, even though it's scary, you can be a part of something that is greater than the self.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's it, and I love it, and she said, "Yes, I agree with the static or in between channels," and it is about practice and building that stamina. We
Absolutely.
we have to build stamina. There's a reason you can speak confidently and I can speak confidently. It's because we're doing this work all the time. It's
Hmm.
not like, "Oh, I do this work when I'm going to the grocery store."
Absolutely.
I'm engaged all the time. It
Hmm.
doesn't mean like walking around with beings talking to me all the time, but I get information always. And
Hmm.
you're doing things all the time, and it's choosing to live in a very I like to call it turned on, lit up
Yeah,
way.
absolutely.
And but it wasn't always the case. I
Hmm.
joke around all the time, like when I go to do channeling, I for the first several years I'd be sitting there like with a group or whatever, and I'm like, they're not going to show up. Like this is what the hell am I doing? Like what? And then I still love that part of what am I doing? What is this? And
Hmm.
that's just authentic. It's real.
Hmm.
It doesn't mean that it's not really a doubt about my experience in it. It's that when I try to put normal dialogue around it, it ceases to like line up in a real coherent way
Yeah.
sometimes. And
Yeah.
so it just is what it is. And so
Yep.
but it doesn't it's learning to trust and have faith in that experience, and the only way you can get the experience is by doing
Doing
and
it.
practicing and flubbing up and having moments where you got a hit and you got an idea, something, and you didn't trust it, and then you find out it was the thing, and it just I always joke around, I said the best podcast that I want to listen to is all the ways we miss the cues, we screw up
Right.
with our clients, like we said the wrong thing, we offended,
Yep.
like because we're human, when we do
Absolutely.
this, and you just go, "Oh, why didn't I
Right.
just say that? Because that was the thing. I
Yep.
didn't
My
want to be
favorite.
pushy or."
Yep. My favorite thing was with my students is guess what I screwed up this week. Right? Guess what? I didn't listen. I
Right.
didn't listen. And here's what happens.
That's
Right? Like I knew better and I did it anyway. And right. So
and you
it's
seem like a really miserable human. Like
right.
you do.
Because
You seem incredibly miserable. I'm kidding, of course, but there's you show by showing up, by being willing to show up and do this, you learn that nobody breaks, that the world doesn't fall apart, that you can face, making a mistake or saying the wrong word or doing the wrong thing,
hmm.
that we bounce, we have
Hmm.
the ability to bounce, and that's where that spark of delight that you have, that
Absolutely.
I was drawn to it immediately. The moment I saw you talking, I was like, "Who is this? Who is this Claire Marie?" So, I am super excited. Well, we're kind of at time, which I could have talked to you for
Yeah.
days, but
This was phenomenal, and I cannot wait to do it again because there's
agreed,
so much more to talk about,
agreed.
and this is phenomenal. Thank
Well,
you
we will do it
so
again.
much.
Thank you, and I'm glad you're gonna be there. You're gonna be doing readings.
Yep.
So please come and connect with Claire Marie, and the event is going to be a lot of fun. It's on the 20th. We open doors at 4:30. It's a half an hour earlier than usual. 4:30 to 5. You have time to go connect with the different readers and healers that we have, and then we have Annie Fitzgerald, who's going to be coming in and doing sound healing, which
Ooh.
I don't think there's a better time of year with all the like. Let's get in our bodies.
Hmm.
Let's rev up our systems, and then I'll be doing some channeling, so it'll be a lot of fun. I can't
I
wait.
love it.
I can't wait.
I can't wait. I can't wait. I the first time I saw you when you were channeling, even I mean, I wasn't even in the room, and I could. You were glowing. It was. I'm like this chick. She's got it. Like I could sense the shift and the change. I could see it,
Yeah.
and it's the real deal. And it makes me so happy to be in your presence and to be able to learn from you. So I am ecstatic to be part of this night, and I am ecstatic to listen to what you bring through.
Well, we are
So
going to
thank
have
you
so
very
much
much for the
fun. Thank you. I
invitation.
feel the same. See, this is exactly why. See, if you're not feeling lit up, I am. I think she is. We're all lit up. That's the whole
For all it up.
purpose. So thank you so
Absolutely.
much. I'll see you guys. I hope you can join us. I love you. And I will see you in just a couple weeks. Thanks,
Just
you
a couple
guys.
weeks.